Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. You are watching Monk BC battling communism. It's there behind the flag. Usually I have my chalkboard up, but I got Old Glory up there today, and that's fine too. That's fine too. Representing as always, I wanted to welcome everybody to the show. You are watching me live on the TECNTV.com network. That is the Exceptional Conservative Network on TECNTV.com. I am so grateful to always get a chance to be on this network every Tuesday and Thursday and have a place where I know I'm going to be able to use my voice, considering what we are all going up against with big tech and big government and all of this. And of course, we're watching on Facebook. Hello, El Mario, my friend Janet, and of course, my dear friend Audra Johnson. Audra, I just want to make this promise to you right here. When you get your new campaign video, I know there's a great new song. Y'all don't know this. Audra has a great new song that a great patriot and supporter made for her and for the campaign. It's awesome. And there's going to be, I am told, a video. And we're going to play it on this show the day it comes out. The day it comes out, maybe we won't get breaking, maybe we're not as important as our other friends, but we're going to play it on this show. We are going to play it on this show. So excited. Good job. Keep up the good work, Audra Johnson, everybody. Rose, Carrie, Hope, good to see you. Raul, Karen, good to see you. Thank you, Raul. Thank you. I want to talk about that, and I want to start. I wanted to talk tonight about really standing up for our values and what that means, considering all of the things we see going on in the world. And even when you're standing up and it's just a few of us and we feel certainly a little bit like that ant in the song about the rubber tree plant. We feel a little bit like, oh my gosh, that's a really big rubber tree. And yet somehow we figure out how to move it. And it's a process of standing up for our values. But I think so important is standing up for our values together. So I want to first off start this show with thanking my good friend Isaac Smith for all of the work that he put in, as well as my good friend Matt Bailey, who put in so much work as well on putting this press conference together. We contacted dozens of news sites. We contacted all kinds of individuals. And what I can tell you from what you saw compared to all the effort we put in, you can see the very frustrating process. We did have a chance to have a few folks down there. We had my nice big sign. We did have Breitbart come down. I want to thank them for coming down. We did have the Gateway Pundit report on the story. And so I want to thank those guys. But we didn't have any local media come out. And the reason for that is they are just so nervous and concerned and afraid, really, to discuss anything that really goes against the mayor of the city, that really goes against the Democrat machine. And here's the unfortunate part, y'all. These abuses we see going on at our detention center and across the country. It's not really a matter of whether it makes somebody look bad or not. These are human beings that we see being put in egregious conditions. I hope you are following the news over in France. France talking about, Macron coming out today talking about severe restrictions for individuals who do not have a vaccine passport. So we are going to see going forward even more and more pressure and more opportunity to stand up for your values in a world that seems growingly more and more insane, at least for the moment. How's it going, Nick? How's it going, Mary? And more deaf to the problems around us. But in the end all be all, doing the right thing, coming together. How's it going, Darlene? Good to see you, Brad. Good to see you, Nick. Good to see you. Doing the right thing, Mary. I hope I said hello. Doing the right thing is what America is built on. We are built on the principle that we, the people, are going to govern ourselves. And that means when we, the people, see a wrong, when we see something out of whack, out of sync with our values, violating our values, whether anyone else is paying attention to that, we have to stand up, we speak up, we stand up, and we speak out. How's it going, Tracy? So that's what I think we focused on today, is a chance to make a very public statement, to come out and say, this is wrong. These are the wrongs that have occurred and continue to occur. And we need to continue to speak out peacefully, obviously peacefully, so important, peacefully. And they think that they can silence you by not giving you access to media, by not giving you access to the news cameras. But in reality, thousands, over 1,000 to 1,000 people saw this video today of the press release. We have many of the press conference, many shares. So there's a lot of out there that you might not even know. I got a chance to be on WMAL radio this morning talking about this issue. I've got a chance to talk to several news organizations about this issue and continue to push this issue. And starting tomorrow, y'all, I'm putting together, Lee Michael is probably going to pop in on the show eventually, and when he sees the replay, he'll appreciate the shout out. He put together a form letter that you all can use to send to your congressmen and senators, and we're going to simplify it. He asked me to edit it, and I was so busy I didn't get a chance to do that, but I am going to edit it, and it's just a very simple letter. I'm going to ask all of my patriots, and we're going to ask you to ask 10 of your patriots, so we can spread this around and really get this happening. You just need to call and ask your congressman to go to the DC Detention Center. Just go to the DC Detention Center and see for yourself. I just need one congressman. I just need one senator. Out of 535 of them, I think between all of us, this is what I truly believe, y'all. I think between all of us, out of the 535 people in that building, we can convince one of them to go down there, at least one, maybe more, to go over 2.2 miles. I mapped it on my maps. I mapped it on the Google Maps. Okay. 2.2 miles over to the DC Detention Center so they can tour the facility, so they can see the conditions for themselves, so they can talk to inmates and see for themselves what is happening, find out directly, ask questions of the guards. What is the policy? How is it being implemented? This is what I'm asking, and this is what I'm asking you to ask. Congress, please go to the DC Detention Center and see what's going on, because we are hearing about egregious human rights abuses. And we've talked about these abuses on this show so many times. Solitary confinement, lack of basic grooming, lack of adequate medical care, lack of visitation with their family and their attorneys, lack of outside time, lack of exercise, being woken up in the middle of the night so you can take your 1 or 2 hours out of your cell. Not to mention physical abuse and violence occurring, particularly with the individuals there from the January 6th situation. I'm so fed up and tired with the politics everyone has been playing with this on both sides of the aisle. Nobody wants to talk about it because of the January 6th prisoners. And they're getting away with tormenting everyone. They're coercing people into the vaccination, keeping you in lockdown unless you are willing to take the vaccine. And I know from personal conversation that they are pressuring individuals up to 2, 3, 4 times a day to get the vaccine. Ridiculous amount. Like a lot of pressure. It's not just... They're being crazy. They're masks, always masked. Vaccine pressure, inadequate care, inadequate exercise, inadequate food, inadequate. And all I need is for everybody to call their Congress and say, go, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Go to the DC Detention Center and see for yourselves, Congress. And we're all going to put in on that together. And I think we can do it, y'all. I think we can do it because I think that living your values and standing up for your values and standing for what is right eventually works. Sometimes you got to try a bunch of different things. Sometimes you got to, be like water and flow around this rock or flow around that rock. Obstacles in your way. But you got to change, you adapt, and you continue to move forward. And that is what we have been doing with this DC's Detention Center. So I want to thank everybody who watched today's press conference. I want to thank everybody who shared today's press conference. I do want to thank Breitbart for coming out. I do want to thank Gateway Pundit for coming out. And I seriously, all of you local news sites, it's going to be kind of embarrassing when all of the stuff comes out about what's going on and we start to know what's going on in the jail and Congress goes over there and is like, oh my gosh. And then you're really going to want to cover it. And they're going to ask you, well, didn't you know about this before? And then I'm going to come out and say, yes, because you did, because we reached out to you and told you about this situation. All of you. And that's where we're at. So I gather I told you so's. I gather I told you so's. That's how I do. That is what I do. So, not sure why it is doing that. Let me see. Give me just a second because I feel like I need to. The camera over here is being a little bit awkward. And so let me just do a little bit of technical difficulties. Hold up, Facebook peeps. Hold up. Let's see. All right. I don't know why it's doing that. So give me just a second, y'all. Let me just see if I can't. Oh, I see what has happened. Okay. Of course. So we're back. Sorry about that. Y'all, sorry about that. We're going to have a little bit of a cross view for just a second while we get the camera angle set up. So please just excuse me. We're going to have to turn just a little bit, y'all, because just a little camera difficulty. So please excuse me as I kind of move back and forth a little bit to both of you to try to do the best I can with the technology as it is currently operating. So it's important that we continue to work on things even when we find things very frustrating, and finding other people to do that with is so important. And one of the things that I'm going to just say I felt was very particularly successful in this situation was dividing up the labor, dividing up the way that we operated together, and taking different aspects of a task and sharing them with individuals is a great way to actually make it a lot easier on yourself to be able to get stuff done, even very large things when you don't really have a big team or a lot of money or a lot of other people to necessarily help with. You can use a small people. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome, Tracy. I would have to. I listen to Lucretia. Sometimes I don't watch her. I just listen because she has that Lucretia voice, and you can just listen to her all day. You know what I'm saying? She starts singing in the middle of the show. It's awesome. It's good stuff. It's quality entertainment. So I forget to watch. So I have to go in and check for that because I appreciate you mentioning it. Now, as I said, the next thing we're going to be working on, reaching out to Congress, getting Congress to reach out and go over to the DC Detention Center. I want to thank Ken McClinton, who is the founder of the TECN TV network. I want to thank him for showing up to the press conference today and for being there, speaking out, and making some very sound points. You know, one of the concerns we've found people having is it's hard to get people to care about individuals who are in jail. You know, it's hard. People tend to feel like if you're in jail, maybe you did something to deserve it. And unfortunately, uh, clearly in our system, that may or may not be the case. We have a system of innocent until proven guilty, and the individuals, of course, in the detention center are awaiting trial. They're awaiting trial, so they're not people who have guaranteed anything, committed any crime. It is merely a matter of these people are awaiting trial, awaiting their hearing, awaiting the processing, etc. And well, you know, it becomes important that we give them their liberty in the sense that they are innocent until proven guilty. Innocent until proven guilty being such an important part of that. The frustration in seeing not a lot of response from the media is mitigated in great part by the fact that I know we have such a great team. We have such a great team in this patriot movement. And I'm just so proud of the individuals that I get to talk to every night, that I get to share my thoughts with, my ideas with, and share our goals, really, more than anything. That, I think, is probably the biggest benefit is coming together on shared goals and making that happen. And certainly shared goals in the sense that Lucretia can be on an issue and Ben Burkham can be on an issue and I can be on an issue, and you know, different patriots. Genevieve Peters is on something. So many different patriots working on different things, but we all come together. You know, we have the Czechs my friends from Czechs, that we have so many different groups. In the end, what we're doing, all working together on standing up for our basic principles, for our principles of liberty. I had to move this, so I have to grab up. Excuse me, sorry, Facebook camera people. You'll have to just the shared values that are expressed here in this document, in this Constitution, in the Declaration of Independence, the values of individual liberty, of individual sovereignty, that you yourself are an individual person of rights, of means, of resources. You can keep what you own. That's why the founders included the idea of property in the statement: life, liberty, and property. Eventually, bending it to the pursuit of happiness. Phil, some people pursue property. The point really being that it was important to the founders to understand that we needed to protect. We needed to protect the right to property, the right to property ownership. That's really what's important in what the founders were trying to do. Because as you see, when you can't own your own property, when you can't own the resources to feed yourself or care for your own family, depending on the government, starts to get very, very risky. And that's something we've seen in just this past year so much. So I know, yes, Tracy Lucretia is going to start sending out free constitutions again. I'm very excited. I'm also planning to try to be down to Georgia for the Faith and Freedom Conference, Lucretia's conference. So I'm going to be reaching out to her so we can make sure all those details are final. But she already knows. I've told her I'm coming, so I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be a good time, and it's always a good time to come down and see my great patriots down there and to continue to build those relationships. Now, I will say one of these, Lee Michaels, my good friend, is always nagging me because, as you know, I'm on team work. I'm on team. Let's get the work done. You know, I'm not party patriots. I'm work patriots. But he always reminds me, that people appreciate rallies, people appreciate events such as CPAC, and roll my eyes just a little, such as many of these things. And I understand. I understand why we do enjoy those things. It really is about meeting others, finding others that I will tell you, Eric, definitely as we get the details going forward, finding others that share your values, the meeting other people, it's certainly something that people enjoy. But I'm going to say this: you don't have to give $300 to Matt Schlapp to do that. Okay, you don't have to pay a bunch of money to all these event planners. It's fun to do a nice thing now and then, but when we were going through the first term of President Trump, there was just party after rally after fundraiser after gala event. And it was almost as if the whole movement had lost its mind and we were just partying our butts off. And now that we've been attacked by the Chinese virus and this global pandemic and the bioweapon that we see unfolding, which is really a bioweapon of information more than an actual virus itself. Really, it's a bioweapon of fear and misinformation about pretty much everything. And as we know, as we've talked about many uh, many times, as we're sitting in this, many of us, I don't know about you, I kind of feel like, wow, I wish we had gone farther. I wish we had woken up more people. I wish we had gotten more people to the stage of being ready to be active. Because I will say, I have some great patriots, particularly that follow me on my Facebook and here that follow me on TECN. I have some great patriots that literally step up and do the work time and time again, reaching out to their Congress people. Hey, Kathleen, reaching out to their elected officials, their mayors, their governors. When we were talking about reaching out to our sheriffs and finding out if we had constitutional sheriffs and if they were going to stand up for our liberties in the face of these draconian and unconstitutional shutdown orders, we found out so much together. We reopened together. We fought tooth and nail, and I have some great people. But as you know, as you know, we still only got so much done. We're still fighting with masks. We're still fighting with these school boards, with mask rules in the school and vaccination requirements in the school. And I am heartbroken each and every time I read. Yeah, like it literally breaks my heart. I'm literally feeling it right now. When you read the stories of people who their college student, their college age child took the vaccine so that they could go back to school because that's what the college required, and they had ill side effects and passed or are experiencing grave health conditions in regards to their reaction, their individual reaction to this experimental medication. And it continues to get crazier as we see going forward. We see France in the sometime in the middle or beginning of August, I believe, they are going to be imposing vaccine passports for what they said: coffee shops, supermarkets, trains, buses. So I don't really know what they expect people to not buy food. I'm not sure how France is going to handle that. It's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. I do want to remind France and the government of France, Macron, that this is a country that is renowned for getting really mad at their leadership. If you recall your history, like really, like even when they had kings and queens, really mad. So They might want to study the French Revolution. You can make it really easy on yourself and just watch Les Mis, which, you know, do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is the music of a people that will not be vexed again. I'm pretty sure this is how it's going to go, you guys. This is how it's going to go. So, what we are going to see, I know this, Tracy, they have all been busted, and Macron is a dictator like the rest of them, and his lack of concern for his own people is going to be his own downfall. I feel personally that we are nearing closer and closer to that final standoff between the globalists and the rest of the free living world, you, me, the patriots, and our president, and certainly many, many others who have stood together for freedom, for liberty, for the things that are right. The reason, we talk so much, I want to talk about it in this context. There's so many people who judge the United States based on the sin of its individuals. And they talk a lot of the United States as a country, I guess, all of us were grouped in together, have sinned, and we've stepped away from God, and that's why God is punishing us. And I always find that a very interesting, how's it going, Joe? I always find that a very curious and inaccurate way of looking at the situation, because in reality, we are not a singular state of listening to God or not listening to God. Some of us are listening a lot to God. Some of us are not listening to God at all. Some of us are very trying to do good things. Some of us are very not trying to do good things. The status of America and its relationship with the Lord is a conglomerate of all of us. So it's not this idea that we're often told that it's just so hopeless because everyone in America is so wrapped in their sin and their dumb television shows and their materialism, whatever it is the talking heads will complain about. In reality, each individual, you and I, can change that balance. Each individual can decide to spend their time today with doing the right thing, doing a good thing, doing something that moves the bar forward, that moves the needle in the right direction, that moves peace and harmony and brotherhood and fellowship and the values that Jesus teaches us in the Bible closer to reality instead of further away. And you can change that balance just by what you do. You can choose to make America a more prayerful place, or a more respectful place, or a more loving place by your actions, by your individual actions. And I'm going to say this: your actions resonate far more than you even know. That's why they made this movie It's a Wonderful Life. But in addition to that repetitive point that we see in theater at every Christmas, it is a true fact that your actions have more impact than you know. And when other people see you acting, they too can act. So if you want to see the next phase of our country come back together, our freedoms come back in place, the left stop these constant and ridiculous charades and violence and aggression and hatred and evil, you've got to be that change. And it will break like a dam cracked open through the middle. And the block we're experiencing with so many things when it comes to this partisan and political divide we're experiencing, when it comes to this vicious leftist agenda damaging and destroying our freedoms one by one by one, deeper and deeper now more than ever. You will see that that change so quickly, much like you've seen it change in the other direction quickly as well. So I want to talk about a few things that we see happening, including the situation of France, but I also want to talk a little bit about certainly the alarm bells being rung by Jack Posobiec on Twitter just the last couple of days, talking about the Joe Biden administration putting together a list of patriots, of influencers, individuals who were influencing people who may have come on January 6th. And I know some of my friends who do podcasts, some of my friends who do post a lot, some of my friends who may have been those influencers, they're a little, they expressed a little concern. Let's say it that way. They expressed a little concern and nervousness at the idea of this list. And I want to first issue a bit of calm in the sense that, look at Suzanne Monk. Okay. I'm in here. I want to take off my glasses just for a second so you can see my restful eyes. Look how restful. Look how restful these eyes are. So restful. So relaxed. If Suzanne Monk can be this relaxed, as you know, Suzanne Monk, who lives here in Washington, D.C., as you know, Suzanne Monk, who spoke at the Capitol on January 5th, the day before, and telling everyone we are, in fact, the storm. As you know, Suzanne Monk, who is friends with each and every one of these influencers that may be on said list, and many more that are already on other worse lists. You do know my friend is Audra Johnson, right? They think she's like the militia candidate waiting to. I don't understand why the leftist media seems to think that Audra is trying to start a civil war, but her big plan, I guess they think, which I haven't figured this out, but it makes me laugh to try to understand it. Her plan to start a civil war, I guess, was to go to Congress. Because, you know, what I'm thinking, I want to start a civil war. What I do is I waste a lot of time and money and effort putting on nice pantsuits and going around and shaking hands and getting votes and donations so that I can go and cooperate with the other side in Congress. That's not really what I do. If I was going to start a civil war through Congress, it would be probably the last. Congress can't get anything done. You can't listen. You can't pass gas in Congress without some sort of filibuster debate. It's ridiculous. There is no way Congress is the best way to get anything done. So this is the leftist media. They think they're absolutely just on. They think they have us. They continue to double down on their lies, their games, etc., etc. And it's kind of funny. And one of those things is these intimidating ideas that the Biden administration is going to come after each and every one of us. Will they? I don't know. Maybe. Am I going to lose any sleep over it? I'm sorry. What did you say? You know who else? You know why I'm not losing sleep over it? To be honest, people like Audra, who I know is in the same situation, equally as loathed by the powers that be who don't want the Constitution upheld. They don't want your right to choose whether or not you want to take an experimental medication, pharmaceutical drug. They don't want you to have your vote be verified, as we'll talk about the Texas delegation here in a minute. They don't want you to have a voice or an opinion. They want your vote controlled and going to the person that they have picked, the machine has picked, the elites have picked to be next. And that's what they want. That's what they want. So they don't want us to do audits, recounts, and find out the truth. Now, Penny asked, what is going on with the Arizona recount? Up now through the August situation, so I'm not exactly sure what date in August, but it is going to take into August, as has been the plan from the beginning. This is when they are completing the digital part of the audit, the congealing or compiling, that's the word I was looking for, all of the information, all of the evidence, all of the paper ballots. They have compiled that. They have given preliminary results to the state Senate, to a preliminary idea of what has happened. I do not know the extent of that preliminary information, but it has been a decision, and I think a wise decision, by the Arizona Senate, which has called for this recount, to not release that information until the audit is complete, both the paper and the digital part of the forensic audit. So that is what's happening, Penny. We still have some time into August now for the digital part to be completed. That was known all along, that was going to have to be the case, that it was going to take into August to do this digital aspect of the process. And so that's what we are waiting on right now. The only thing that seems different from what we understood in the beginning of the process is that we expected to get those preliminary paper results, or at least some kind of information, more directly. And the Senate has chosen might not be the right word, chosen to hold on to that information until the end. Additionally, this is a very expensive venture, and the Senate has not authorized the ability to pay for all of it. I do believe that you can still go to various sites. I believe Fund the Audit is one of them, or I will look up and see if I can find the links. And if you find the links, please do feel free to share them. They are still, in fact, trying to be able to pay for this audit. It is a very expensive process. I do know also Pennsylvania, Georgia, other states, as they're moving forward, are also going to have additional needs to pay for these audits. So instead of giving any money to the RNC, you guys, just seriously, do not give any money to the RNC at all. Instead, what you're going to need to do is pitch in for these audits, pitch in for these kind of directly to candidates, pitch in to causes and organizations that are operating specifically for things that we need, and not what the RNC is doing, because they are certainly not doing any good. So I want to talk a little bit about the California gubernatorial recall. I want to talk a little bit about Gavin Newsom and the candidates running for the recall there in California. And I think I'm trying to see where my copy. Oh, here. Perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to look. This is a book called Recall Newsom: The Case Against America's Most Corrupt Governor by California legislator Kevin Kiley. Kevin Kiley is also running against, he is running to replace Gavin Newsom. Now, how the system works in California, when you recall a governor, you put the petition to vote a recall together. They put together the recall ballot, as they say, and individuals begin to put their hat in the race. So they vote at the same time. You get 2 questions on the ballot. Question number 1: recall Newsom, yes, no. That's a yes or no question, uh, and that question is then tallied. If there is enough no's, Newsom retains his job. If there is enough yeses, the second question comes into play. The second question is the choice, and it gives you the candidates listed who are running to replace the potentially recalled governor. Now, current candidates include, as many of you know, Caitlyn Jenner, Larry Elder, and as not as many people know, and more people need to know, one, Kevin Kiley, who literally wrote the book Recall Newsom. The reason he wrote the book Recall Newsom is that he was intimately involved in building the recall case. He was intimately involved in fighting back. I'm just going to read this here. With the tenacity of a former prosecutor, California legislator Kevin Kiley pulls no punches as he exposes the French laundry list of ways Gavin Newsom has abused the public trust. There's only one person who's made a more compelling case for recall Newsom: himself. And that was by Orrin Heatley, lead proponent of the recall Gavin Newsom. California's response to COVID-19 has been the worst in America, with incomparable economic destruction, loss of life, and the violations of democratic norms. In this devastating critique, California legislator Kevin Kiley traces these tragic outcomes to the self-interested and lawless actions of Governor Gavin Newsom, who expressly set out to use the virus as an opportunity for a new progressive era. Kiley successfully prosecuted the legal case against Newsom, winning a judgment from a California Superior Court that the governor abused his emergency powers and violated the Constitution. So Kevin Kiley took the governor to court, took Gavin Newsom to court, and won the case. And he's fought since the beginning. Against this draconian governor, against these shutdowns, against all of that. And what we see now going on is the most typical version of rhino machine politics that we have ever seen. Most rhino machine politics. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they've sent in people like Caitlyn Jenner and Larry Elder, who are going to divide the conservative vote, unfortunately, leaving it very likely that the other Democrat on the ticket can win. Because we Republicans will not join together, because we've divided ourselves with games. Yeah, the fence is down, Tracy. We'll talk about that in a second. We've divided ourselves with celebrities. Literally. Hollywood is sending in the clowns. Now, I have no problem with Caitlyn Jenner's choice of lifestyle, and I know others do, but I do not. She can choose to live however she wants. However, that does not mean that she is qualified to be governor of the state of California. She certainly is not very qualified at at maintaining a marital situation. She certainly is not very qualified in dealing with making hard decisions. If you've seen any of her shows about herself, her own reality television makes it very clear that she is easily convinced, manipulated, cajoled, and does not have a lot of ideas on policy, which is a direct opposite of Kevin Kiley, who has a day one plan involving ending these shutdowns, ending the mandates, ending these emergency powers, ending the abuses, and backing up the freedom, putting freedom back into California from what Gavin Newsom has torn it down. Larry Elder Oddly, the same kind of problem, though, isn't it? Larry Elder is a radio host, and he's a good radio host. I'm not saying the man is not a good radio host. I'm not saying that he doesn't have a lot of a strong voice and have a contemplative mind. But it takes a lot more than that, and it takes a very different set of skills from calling out people's BS on the radio to fixing that BS up in the Capitol building. And so we see somebody like a Larry Elder coming in because they know that Caitlin didn't spark your interest, California Republicans. Caitlin didn't spark your interest enough. And so they're sending in host Larry Elder. Oh, he's the voice of reason, everybody. He's that voice you always have remembered from a kid. You recognize his face, you recognize his name. They always say that name recognition does a lot in a campaign. It's time to start asking yourself why. Why do we keep falling for name recognition? If we don't know anything about the name, if we don't know anything about their policies, if we don't know anything about their positions and what they intend to do for us. We, as Americans, can be better than this. It's not really that hard. We, unlike any time in our history, in human history, have the access and means to find out about an individual, to find out about a candidate. Books get published in days, not months, in weeks, not years. And we can learn so much from internet sources, from video sources, from watching people speak live in the moment. If you get a chance, follow Kevin Kiley's social media, watch some rallies, watch some speeches, watch some of the things he's saying. Don't just recognize a name. We all recognize the name. We all recognize the name Satan, too. It's not anybody we want to elect for office, but boy, that's some name recognition, right? That's what we need to be careful of. Just because we recognize somebody's name, Benedict Arnold, you recognize that name, right? Joseph Stalin, Karl Marx. These are all names you recognize. They aren't names you want. Fidel Castro. We see the situation down in Cuba. I want to, of course, I don't even know how to express how long I have stood with the nation of Cuba and prayed for their liberty. Prayed that Cuba would be free from the communist Castro regime and the decades and decades of economic destruction, oppression of the people, murders, and egregious physical fear and violence control that comes with a communist authority, a totalitarian dictatorship like we saw in the nation of Cuba. And equally so frustrated, oh my gosh, so frustrated, to listen again and again to idiots. And I will say idiots because I don't know what else to describe them as. They were idiots who tried to tell folks that no. Cuba loves it like that. That's why they paint their houses all bright. They have great medical care. They're living the good life. And you're like, no, they're not. Every cycle, every time the government cracks down on prices and economic control, the food supply goes away. People go into starvation mode. The farmers struggle. The crops die off, and we have a whole process and problem. And then the starvation becomes so bad that Cuba starts crying to the international community, start crying. They go, you know what? Oh, okay, farmers, we'll let you do what you want. We'll give you some more freedom. Just grow some food. And the farmer's like, okay, we're going to grow some food. And we can make our own prices so that we're going to, it'll motivate us to grow. Because here's the thing. And it's what communism fails again and again and again. You can't control price. Because you can't control the cost, you can't control the risk, you can't control any of those other factors, and so you do not know what it's going to be worth to somebody to put a crop in the ground. And you don't know what it's going to be worth to the many people who want to buy that crop. You have to go with supply and demand. It's a basic human reality. Since cave times. Okay? Since caves, when and all right, went out and found like 3 beaver, okay? And he took the beaver, he cleaned the beaver skin, and he didn't find any beaver, right? He just found like a nice antelope, and was like, oh man, I really want that antelope skin for my girl, but all I got is these beavers. I mean, it'll be nice, but I can make some shit moccasins or something. And I was like, you know what? We can swap. See, so like since the dawn of time, the value, but see, was like, well, I only need 2 beavers because I only have 2 feet. And so the price of antelope skin then became 2 beaver skin. You see, because that's what the value. Yeah, that's basically markets work. What am I willing to give you? What am I willing to receive in exchange for that? Simple. Suzanne, can I have your pair of scissors? No, I need these pair of scissors. What if I give you $5 for the scissors? Well, I guess, yeah, because it's stupid. I could just go and get another pair of scissors. But if you're just going to give me $5, then cool. Then these scissors are worth $5. Humans are deciding the price, not some arbitrary force. And so when you do that to food, you starve. Yeah. When you do that to the price of food, farmers cannot sustain that low price, and they cannot work at a loss. You cannot farm at a loss. Nobody is rich enough to go, well, I'm going to spend $100,000 trying to grow this food, and it's going to only make me $70,000. So I'm going to spend $30,000 this year growing food for other people. No one's doing that. No one's doing that. The government can't do it, and people can't do it either. So, we are living certainly in unprecedented times. And I think a time where we cannot help but ignore anymore that there is a real energy, not in the media, not in the elites, not in not in the Olympics, not in the halls of celebrity, not in Hollywood. Not anything that you'd see if you didn't take a look at your neighbor. And I don't just mean your neighbor next door, but your neighbor on the other side of the world as well. Social media has given us an opportunity to see in to real people and real situations more than ever before. And what I see are individuals fighting for natural, for natural immunity and health and self-choice. In Canada, standing up for the right to be free from masks, free to breathe, free to live in a full fashion. I see this in England. I see this across the globe. Individuals are tired of these globalist lies. They are tired of the oppression, and they want what we in America have: liberty. At some point, y'all, we in America have to pick our flags back up and make sure that we have that shining beacon on the hill for folks to come to, because they're going to be ready for freedom. Trust me, the folks of Cuba, I don't know that they will succeed. And if they do not succeed, a new generation of refugees coming here to the United States will pour into this country with a legacy of craving freedom. It's one of the very interesting things when they talk to us patriots about immigrants. Wave after wave of American immigrants came here after being horribly oppressed and having a deep, desperate longing and craving and willingness to do nearly anything to obtain freedom for themselves and to obtain freedom for their family and for their children. And so the legacy of America, the legacy of America continues to be that love of freedom and will continue to be going forward. And there is nothing the crazy left and their angry cartel of illegals can do about it, because even many of the cases of individuals who get swept up in the coyote trade, who do pay individuals to try to smuggle themselves in, it's a lot of times those individuals do have a desire to come here and to get that freedom that they don't have at home. The problem isn't that. The problem, it doesn't actually become individuals who want a better life. They always give us this guilt trip. Oh, it's just people who want a better life. No, the problem is it's actually traffickers. It's individuals who are bringing guns, who are bringing drugs, who are muling funds back over the border, back and forth. It is a multi-trillion-dollar trade and exchange that the cartels use the American economy for, in fentanyl and many other drugs, as well as human trafficking, both sex trafficking and human trafficking. I think we need to start calling those two things separately again, because human trafficking is so much more than just sex trafficking. Sex trafficking, obviously, specifically using children or women or young people, women, men, most often women, to sell as sexual prostitutes or sexual favors, etc. Obviously, we know what sex trafficking is. Human trafficking can include physical violence, can include organ theft. It can include human slavery, literally domestic and physical labor. There are still slaves sold around the world, and not just sex slaves, but literally people who are working hard, heinously difficult jobs, people who are being physically abused, people who are literally being used for biological parts. Those are the things that are going on in human trafficking. And so we need to start calling it more egregiously what it is. And what I will say about all of these things that we're seeing going on, we are coming more and more to a point where that love of freedom is bursting through the clouds. And I think we see that in Cuba, which is how we got on this conversation. I think we see that in a lot of other ways going forward. And I think we need to be ready for more of it going forward. I wanted to say goodbye to the folks over here at TECNTV. Just got distracted, went over 1 minute. Shh. I want to, of course, say to you folks over here on Facebook, we're going to, of course, be back again on Thursday. But we're doing a great thing in the world right now. And I know it can seem like a lot of frustration when you look at each individual situation and you sink into it, you get very frustrated. But I want you to see this overall picture. I want you to see this overall view of people across the globe craving liberty, craving their freedoms back, resisting this vaccine experimentation that is being pressed upon us so much, resisting it for others, and doing the right thing right here at home. There is a spirit of freeing going on in this world, and the spirit of restriction holds so tightly, but you can see you can see those fingers losing grip. You can see those knuckles trembling as evil itself loses grip of a free people. I think the world's going to be a lot more free. Not just America. The world is going to be a lot more free. Much, much sooner than we think. So let's pray for that. And let's pray for it now. Dear Heavenly Father, we just ask that you free the world, Heavenly Father, and continue to provide each and every one of us listening here the patience and strength to see your vision through to its completion. We pray these things in your name, and the name of your holy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Thanks for listening. Do continue to stand strong on your principles and values. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for what the Constitution and the founders believed in, because we are making headway. Each and every time you stand up, you inspire somebody else to stand up. And that's the domino effect that will really change the world. So very proud of each and every one of you. I love you. Until next time, you guys, until Thursday, this is your girl, Suzanne Monk. Dropping out.